Hi, my name is Nariba Shepherd,
And this is Justin Arnett Graham.
and this
Is Terms of Service.
We got it!
Sick!
Okay, it only took forever, but we did it. Kind of.
Forever and a day. But it's a journey.
It's a journey.
It is a journey.
We're here.
Yeah.
How are you doing today, Justin?
I'm actually really well.
Mm-hmm.
Did a little running today. Did some meditation. Did a lot of running around, but I'm focused on the positive.
Oh,
Yeah. How are you?
I'm trying to learn to be better at being positive, but
Heard that.
my body
Same.
feels less like a piece of shit now than when I started this new job. So I think
Okay.
I've gotten back into the
So it's
the groove of line cooking again.
All right, Stella, getting your groove back. Come through with it.
You got to do what you got to do. It's end times. But in end times, the phoenix rises from the ashes.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And so let's go.
Yeah. Well,
Hi.
hi. We have a
Hi.
guest again.
Yes, we do. I'm super excited that you're here. So thank you, Raketa. Miss Raketa Webb is with us. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. I'm excited to be here.
Great. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm
Great.
feeling good. Yes. Thank
Great.
you.
Of course. So how did we meet?
You mean just recently on this topic or just in general?
In life.
In life, we met when I was
Way back.
cocktailing, living my best life, running around that bar at Cortino.
Ooh.
That's who we
I
met.
love me some Cortino.
Yes.
Okay. I mean,
Yes.
that tortellini.
Mm-hmm. With that prosciutto peas. Yes, absolutely.
You don't got to sell it to me, but yes.
I remember.
Yes. So again, hello, welcome.
Hello.
So a little background, regale the listeners with who you are.
So Raketa Webb coming in hot from Pittsburgh. I have been in Chicago now for about 10 years. This is now my home. I've been in the service industry most of the time that I've been here.
Okay.
Hospitality industry, hopping all over the place between serving, bartending, restaurants, hotels.
An industry gal.
Industry
Industry
gal.
gal.
Yeah. And now, as we'll talk about a little bit, just embarking on a whole new career in life, new lifestyle, new year, new me.
New year, new you. Hell yeah.
All right, 2021. And I'm not going to make this such a big deal, but I just have to put it out there. This episode is scheduled to drop on my birthday.
Ooh.
So just throwing that out there.
Well,
So
it's gonna be a special time.
it's going to be
'cause
extra
this-
special.
This is a special time right here.
Yes.
This is the Virgo Rising power team because we did our research before we even started.
And what exactly does that mean?
That
Nariba?
means that we are presenting to the world like people that have it together.
Okay.
And we're trying to get there.
Okay.
But you an Aquarius. And you a double Scorpio. So we're just out here.
Yeah.
Really
We'll see. Yeah.
fooling people.
We'll see.
But we know that you're someone that really grew from your experience in the industry to where you're at now and being able to recognize what well-being means and what financial wellness, because that's where we're going into this, what that means when you're not working an hourly job that you're more dependent on than the people employing you are dependent on you.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
we're just gonna take a little stroll down memory lane and then get us to where we are now.
Yeah. So
I love that, especially,
Industry.
I mean, the Virgo rising, as I just recently learned about, but I think that's a great point of view and a great place to kind of set the tone for this conversation, because I am starting this industry. I don't pretend to know everything about it. But that being said, coming out of the service industry, it is showing me that I have a long way to go, and I'm a far cry from having it all together.
All right, far
but
cry.
my goal is to take people along with me on this journey. Just as I'm learning it.
Right.
As it's being brought up to me, bring it up to everyone else so they can also get themselves together while I'm getting myself together.
So let's just get it together.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying.
Aren't we all together? We're getting it together.
Together.
Yes.
Together.
Yes. So, Raketa, you have a significant history within the industry. However, I wouldn't say industry adjacent. You have left the industry completely, right?
Correct. Yes.
And the financial sector, and this conversation is a part of a larger wellness topic. And I think it's really important for people to start understanding the impact of treating this job as a career and planning for the future and making sure that there are appropriate tools out there to help you get to where you're going together. Yeah, so if you'd like to talk to us about that.
So for starts, financial wellness in general, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
In the service industry, we can get into that. It's a very broad way of just saying, recognizing what your finances are, how to manage them appropriately, strategizing your money, and planning for your future. Right? So going into my service industry. Hey. And what exactly does that even mean, right? Being responsible.
True.
Right.
I like that.
But the financial wellness industry, or in the service industry, or lack thereof, shall we say. Now, going back to my many days in the service industry, it's not something that we talk about. I don't know about you guys, but I was never out after work at happy hour with friends or late night having some drinks and discussing, so how much of your cash are you going to be saving that you made tonight? Or,
girl.
what are you doing? Are you managing any funds? Are you trading any stocks? Are you investing? What are you doing? And what about retirement, girl? Like, what are we doing with that?
All of this is real
we're
cute.
We're not talking about that. We're out talking about, our love lives, who we want to talk, who we want to hook up with, the gossip in the workplace, whatever it is we're talking about, right? So it's not, unusual that this is not something that we know much about in our industry. But that being said, that's something that has inspired me to sort of turn my attention towards those people in the industry, since that's where I came from. I'm well aware that that's not a topic in our everyday conversation.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that I'm not leaving behind my peers and the people that are near and dear to me, that these relationships that I've developed in the industry, and learning all of this, great education, this finance 101, and not lending that education to the people that I know could use it.
I respect that. I think
Mad respect on that.
I think that I never thought about like saving money or like investing in anything until I was like in a management position, because then I was like, oh, maybe I'm making extra money and I should do something with this. But it's hard to find tools out there that like really work for you. And also like procrastination is real. And like everything you just said, one of my older brothers has been like on me since I was 18 about like, you should start saving and you should like get a credit card and use it this way. And I'm just like, this is really overwhelming. I feel like I have no pennies to rub together and you want me to save one of them? Like,
I heard that.
So I think, I'm really interested in knowing like what are ways to sort of get people to understand the importance of financial stability. in like their work.
So let's take it back to something that you just said maybe just a few seconds ago. You know, you didn't recognize that as even being something that was of importance until you get into the manager role, right? You know, so that's something, you know, I think about often. Why is it that we think that that's when our life starts, or when we have to, like, why is it, what is it about our job as a server, bartender, dishwasher, line cook, whatever it is that we're doing, that makes us feel like we're on pause and things don't start, you know, we don't start adulting until we're giving this role that tells us that it's time to start adulting, like that manager title. Then all of a sudden we're thinking, even though in most cases in this industry, we all know when you're promoted to a manager, you're probably making less money.
Let them
than
know.
You did
Let them know.
Before we were,
and that's on period.
Serving.
So,
but,
yes.
Yeah.
You know, now that's when it's like, okay, now let's take it seriously. Now we need to start doing planning and recognizing that we have this, you know, quote unquote real job.
Right. And I think the idea of a real job is the structure that comes with it. Being a manager within the hospitality industry, it is structured. Being a server or a bartender could feel less structured because you can drop a shift, you can pick up a shift, etc. But yeah, that's spot on.
Yeah, I think the accountability for, at least in my experience, went up a lot. And I felt like, I think that managers tend to lead you to believe that this is where you want to be. And like everything you're doing right now isn't really, that's like, it's work, but it's not like real work. You're not doing as much.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's a part of why we feel like we're on pause a lot, is because everyone is telling us that this isn't the real part of your job, which makes you feel like insignificant
and inadequate.
And it's like, why should I be saving my money when it doesn't even matter, because I'm not doing anything with it anyway, because you don't have time to take off to like do any trips. You can't afford to not be working, so you can't like take a class or something, because people are like, well, if I'm working 80 hours a week, when am I going to fit in time for like a class to further your education and maybe get you interested in things outside of this thing that you know?
Because it also starts feeling like you're working per shift. Like you're like, that's how your money is structured. And with management, it seems to be like, well, you're looking towards a bi-weekly paycheck, and that just feels different. And
it feels like stability, because you know you're getting that money. Guaranteed.
I like that. Yeah, it feels like stability.
Yeah,
but it's not.
But it's not.
but it's not.
But it's not.
No, you have to plan for stability. Is that right?
You have to plan for stability.
God damn it.
You have to plan for stability. But yeah, I like that you said that, because it's important that we take responsibility for that. There's a time, I mean, we were adults early on in our careers, right? There was nothing.
Some of us.
Nobody, nobody chimed in and said, oh, because now you're a manager, now all of a sudden you're this adult. And then
Children
going back
out
to
here
what you had
being
said.
Managers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then going back to what you were saying about like the education and people feeling like they don't have the time to go and get the education that they feel like they need, but look around, half the people that have moved out of the industry, they didn't have to get any type of degrees and whatnot. The managers, for God's sake, certainly didn't. They just got pulled up into this role just because they did.
Yeah.
But that's part of the problem too, because they just transitioned these people from a server position into a manager role without any sort of education of, okay, now that you're doing this, these are the kind of, work benefits are given to you, but they're just kind of thinking, okay, well, we made it. I'm a manager now. They gave me some benefits that are like, like who knows what they are.
I've reached the summit.
They just
that's how they feel.
Incentivize you and make you feel like you're getting this, like, some kind of a benefit package. And then you move on, even though the salary is less, even though the responsibility is more, the hours are longer, and all of these things. But
and let them know.
My question is, why is it that like we have to put that on each other then, because if we try to put it on management, for example, these past few weeks, I've reached out to different restaurant owners, different restaurant groups, telling them, you know, hey, my name's Raketa. This is what I want to do. You know, I feel like there needs to be there's a step that we're missing here in the industry where we're onboarding people and we're not giving them anything to think about. It's just like, here you are. We're very disposable. You know, they'll tell you right away. In the server, bartender, whoever you are, you can be replaced. They don't care.
Right.
If you show up for a shift late, you can be fired immediately. They're not going to blink an eye at that. So it puts that in your mind, making you feel like you already are thinking like you're already less than in the first place, right? You're already feeling like, okay, my job doesn't really matter. They also know that you're making a lot of cash, so they're also making you feel like, well, that is where you're winning. We don't have to do anything extra to help you out. Like, you're winning.
Yeah.
Just
it's like the horse
having
and the
all
carrot,
this cash,
sort of, you know,
and
dangling the
making
prize
this
in
money,
front of
and
you.
we know that you're making more money than half of us over here. So like, you already are being told that you're pretty much on your own. You're using their restaurant as a place to bring in regulars and bring in people and earn your income, and then you go home. They're not willing to invest in you in the same way that they're investing in their management team and other people that are, you know, higher in the hierarchy, if you will.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So-
then continue.
Oh, I'm sorry. So going back to my conversation with them, I was surprised because there was some recognition in that. A lot of them were like, you know what, that is true. We don't do that, and we don't onboard people and let them know these are the benefits that you're receiving. This is what they mean. This is what they cover. This is what they don't cover. You know, they don't sit down and talk to you about that. You just check boxes. You move on with your life,
They
and then you
hand you
start
that
working.
packet, and you just
And you
keep it
think that's
moving.
all you have to do. There's no education on now that you're making more income or less income. How do I manage my funds? What do I do moving forward? Basic stuff. Just, you know, 60-20-20. Like, live off 60% of your income, 20% save, the other 20% do what you want to do.
What is this thing that you are talking about?
Yes, girl, I'm telling you, these are things that, like, if I knew this stuff when I was out here just bringing in all that cash in Cortino, just working that floor, I
like,
would be
taking notes.
having all kinds of money saved up.
Right.
And this pandemic wouldn't have been as devastating to the people as it is now, because they didn't have any of this stuff planned out, any cushion, because it was like, you know, make money, deplete, repeat.
Exactly.
Deplete, repeat. Just keep doing it. And you know that next shift's more cash
We
is
were
gonna
out
come.
here living lives being like, people need to eat, people need to drink, this will always be here. And in the last year, I have learned so much about where my money goes. And
Isn't that something? Yeah.
it's
that had to take something like
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
And we're living off of, I mean, unemployment. And if if you have a job now at this point in the industry, great. But if you're like most people, you're on unemployment, and they're still surviving. And it's very eye-opening. In the very beginning of this, I was like, wait a minute, I can live off of this?
That's
Where
what I'm
was my
saying.
money going? What is happening? But I'm hoping is getting people, well, making them motivated. Like most people probably don't leave the industry job because they're thinking, well, I'm going to make less money if I go to another place. You know, they have degrees.
Yeah.
There's opportunity out there for them. But if they take that job, what is it going to be? Half of their income? But now I'm hoping it makes people feel like, you know what, you can live off of less. And then that could be a point of transition, going into that role where now you're making less, but you're used to it now. And then now you can get to that point where you're making even more than you will ever make. If that makes sense.
I feel like my brain did like a heavy question mark. Like, wait, after this is done, I can still survive on the money that I'm making now. But what will happen when bars and restaurants open up again and I go and I give them my money that I earn from bars and restaurants? I think that's a big thing as well. Like, we don't have any money for ourselves because we then go and put it into other bars and restaurants.
Man.
Because
After
there's that
work.
camaraderie
Exactly.
there.
And it's like this vicious cycle. But I think that was the other thing. When I went into a management role, I was like, oh shit, I can't like go out and turn up as much because I have to be back earlier in the morning. And I did realize that I was like, I'm saving money. and I'm less tired the next day.
Look at this balance.
But I still like, I wish there was more of a conversation about like, okay, the first time someone was like, would you like a 401k? And I was like, hell yeah, sign me up for that. But I didn't understand like the terms and conditions, I guess, of that. The terms of service.
I was waiting for it. I'm like, we're almost there.
Yeah. They don't tell you about the terms of service of your 401k and like what you're actually buying into. And like, what are they like helping you? Are they meeting you? Does your job care about you enough to like match what you're investing in yourself? And I think that a lot of jobs don't give a shit about that part. They just want someone who's already been there to move forward and continue being in this like cycle of you're part of the industry, you are the industry, and like you have to be dirty and stay dirty to like make it, but you're not using any of the money you're getting in like
to fund
yourself. Yeah, it's just sort of like to exist.
Yeah.
And I think that I learned mostly in this pandemic that we need to be beyond that. And I think also going back to work during a pandemic in the restaurant industry is like really helping me to focus in on like my regular boundaries as a person, but it's also making me aware of like how much I need to make more money than I think I do to actually save money. Okay. So my brain hasn't adjusted to, you can save money while you're making less than you were before. And I'm trying to get there, but it's hard.
It's possible.
I know it's possible.
My entire experience when I started in this industry, I'd be like, I have to make more money to make sure that I'm financially secure. But
Raketa just told us that's not true.
Exactly. Exactly. And it just, and even hearing it in my mind
sounds foreign.
Yeah. And
think about all the money that we use on things. I mean, if after work at Bijan's, if I could take any of that money back.
Bijan's?
I mean,
memories?
I mean, if I could take back that money, I mean, I was just going out. I would have 2 glasses of wine and maybe a beer and who knows, maybe a shot or two. And $70, $8 later, and I'm like, because you just be like tipping and acting like, you know what, I gotta support my boy, like what's up, like meanwhile I could have gone to wherever and just paid full price and it would have cost me less.
Right. You want to support somebody else without supporting home first. So
absolutely.
And it's wild.
It's wild.
Yeah. Oof. Well,
so we got to take that in real quick. Yeah. I'm like, hold on.
We'll just take a sip of this.
That just brought me back. That
sparkling,
brought me back.
No grony.
Hold on.
Right. Yes. So delightful.
It is delightful. Just another NA Bev.
Yeah.
It just doesn't
to
taste
fuck
like
my
it's
shit
NA.
up. Exactly.
No.
So this one contains like Monday gin. The aperitif. Wait, you weren't here when we like talked about it and sipped a little bit.
I overheard a little bit when I was.
It tastes like Campari.
Like if they had a baby, we said, right? It was
Yeah.
like Campari and
an NA baby.
Yeah, an NA baby.
Yeah. Spirit free.
And
spirit free baby.
It has all the hallmarks of a very like easy, sippable cocktail without making you feel like you're not having a cocktail. Right?
Well said. Absolutely.
It's the experience of having the cocktail while not.
Yeah.
and it feels divine.
It does.
Because this is so smooth.
Yeah, and I know I messed up the way that I was supposed to pronounce it in the conversation prior. But it's called, the soda component is a Kinoto. Did I say it right? Yeah. And that's like really bitter, but it's sweet but bitter, and it doesn't really like I don't know, man. It tastes like an Aperol spritz without the Aperol or the spritz. It's delightful. Shout out to your girl, Ashley C. Pretty good.
Yeah, I was like, thank you so much, Ashley, Christine. Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Boom.
That's a social distance cheers right there. We just talked about that earlier. You don't bump the top, you bump the bottom. We're all bottom bitches now.
Oh, okay.
Bump your
Because
germs all over
so
each
what
other's
were we
glasses.
talking about?
Only bum touching.
Okay, so it's a top and bottoms conversation. Okay, heard that. Okay, yeah. So just throwing that out there.
There it is. Okay.
I just lost my train.
Yeah, we just spiraled out all the way out of the conversation, but we're gonna reel it back in real
reel
quick.
it.
Yeah.
Well, I like what you were saying about 401k. You're like, what is that? Who knows what it is?
Who is she?
You get it through work,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like, what if you don't? Like most serving positions are not offered something like this. A company match is going to be very hard to find in the service industry.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things I like talking about with people is just realizing, again, we don't have to wait for someone else to do it for us. Because if we were to wait in the industry until we got this other job that then presents us, the HR director presents us with like, hey, here's this package all beautifully wrapped up in a bow.
But I want that.
That would be great. Don't get me wrong. It'd be great. But I mean, I started in the industry when I was, Lord. I like that one. Mm-hmm. 18 or so, and I'm 41 now.
Oh, but she
and if
don't
I
look it though.
Not at all. Not
God.
at all. Not at all.
Well, thank you very much
Killing
for you,
them.
but
Killing them.
every day I wake up feels like 41.
Well, you know what? You don't carry it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But yeah, it's like something that if I wouldn't have waited until I got this job, and I probably was in my mid 30s the first time that I was even given this opportunity for a retirement account, right? But imagine where I would have been had I took this open one myself. I mean, I'm sure, I heard about it, through the grapevine or something, but I didn't know where I was supposed to go to do that. Like, where do you go to take care of that? Like, you can Google something, you'll get about 30 million websites, and then you don't know which one is the right one to do and what they mean, and blah, blah,
And
blah.
then you just give up and you
Don't
go
do
on
it.
Amazon and you give them your money.
Correct.
God.
Correct.
It keeps.
It's a vicious cycle.
There's
Yeah,
just something
because-
that I'm sorry. Please.
No, I was just mentioning how even if you do have that curiosity, the idea of talking about your finances, talking about money,
Which
in
we
general,
don't. We're not supposed to do that.
Not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Not supposed to do that.
Taboo.
It's so where does that come from? I understand from like a respect
The
perspective.
man. It comes from the man. And
Yeah.
the separation of making people feel like they're important but not having to pay them their
worth.
level of importance. And I had a conversation with my friend literally the other day about like this guy who has worked for his boss for like years now, and he opened up a secondary location and promised to like put him in this new location, but then like that didn't happen, and he hired like this whole new management staff. So he was like a bartender who was trying to like get that promotion, and then they like left him in the same position, gave him more responsibilities, didn't give him more money, and then like when he asked to like at least be recognized as like a bar lead or someone like who creates the cocktails that he's serving, then like he was like, well, it's all in a title. Like the manager is now saying it's all in a title. And I'm
What's
like,
that about? Why?
that exactly. And I feel like I talked about that a lot, like with my staff. I'm like, listen, you don't even know. Like when you get to this side of it, it's like you're doing. But all of it is like expected of you because it is your job. But when I did the math of like what my salary was for the 90 to 100 hours I was working a week, it was like I literally am paying my staff more.
Let's let that sit in for a second, because
You're paying your employees more than you are earning.
What is that about?
But it's still not always a livable wage for
Okay.
the employees,
Right.
Right.
which is another thing that we have to like think about. So yeah, it's just like, how am I supposed to save money on a $16 an hour situation?
Right. And this,
The
it
short
makes
answer.
me think, it makes me think of, you know, Raketa, when you were in the industry, what sort of programs were out there? I mean,
None that were brought up to me.
right.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's,
I mean, maybe in the small print somewhere there was like a little brochure or something tied up into my little handbook or something that was like, call this number if you have any questions. And I'm talking about even when I was in a manager position.
Oh, wow.
You know, when I was working as a sales manager, you know, there was still no, you know, here you go, here's your benefits. I was like, okay, I get some benefits. This
you're
is
like,
nice.
we're here now.
You know, we're here now. This is where I'm at.
Yeah.
You know, but there was no like, this is what this means, this is what this covers. No extra education given. It was just like take it or leave it situation, and that's what and that's pretty much all it is. As far as programs, though, no sort of, I'm talking about in any capacity, financial wellness, mental health wellness, any kind of extra cherry on top assistance besides this is your job, come in here, make this cash, and go about your business.
Well, because financial wellness is such a heavy part of mental health. Like when you don't have it, that's all you're thinking about. And that's terrifying, you know? And it gets to be a point that I've experienced to where you just have enough and you will tolerate bullshit because you want to maintain the little bit that you have. And you start looking at, you know, you have your primary account and you might have a savings account, and that's it. But then when you start looking at the savings account, you're like, well, or you don't. Okay, it's okay.
So what was this look?
Right? Yeah.
Oh no, I have a savings account, but up until like 2 years ago, it was to save my checking from overdrafting.
Right, and that's spot
And
on
that's
to what
very
I was going to
common.
mention.
That's
Yeah.
very-
But like now I have a savings account that isn't attached to my bank account, and it has a bunch of rules and restrictions. So I'm actually forced to save it.
Oh, because it'll penalize you if you don't.
It's like you can only remove this amount of money this week, and you can't like do it too many times a month.
Or we're going to take some of that money for us.
But you know, it's for the greater good
Yeah.
of myself in the future. My future self will be happy.
Yeah.
My current self is
You're like right now,
underwhelmed.
though.
We're
Like
working
right
too
now.
hard these days to be sitting around thinking that we're still going to work this hard later in life. Okay. We've got to do something about it so that we're not. But what are your thoughts on this? I'm trying to think how to phrase this. So going back to what you said about, you know, we're making a certain amount of money. How do we even save or we're barely making it, this and that, you know? The one word answer to that would be budget.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I can only speak for myself situation, but I know I was living well outside of my means
Oh yeah.
for sure. You know, if I was going back to what we were talking about, that 60-20-20 that I was telling you about. So 60% going towards fixed expenses, things that you have to spend money on, rent,
Literally writing this
bills,
down.
Right.
things like that.
Yeah.
And then 20% should be going to right into your savings account. And then the other 20% could be for whatever you want to be for.
See, this is
Spend
the
it on the money
good
that you want.
2020.
Uh,
That's the
That is
good
the
2020 right
2020.
there.
Where was
That's
she?
it. Where was she?
that is
For-
the good 2020.
For 365.
She don't know us. She don't know us.
Never
She
heard
missed
of us.
for
She
sure.
never heard of
She
us.
lost my number.
I know that's right.
But nonetheless, that is where we get into that struggle because and follow me on this because I'm thinking as I'm saying this. So I'm thinking that in the industry, you know, we're working and we're serving people all day, right? And we're witnessing them in this alternate universe that we're not a part of at this time, because we're working and we're just running around doing what they need us to do, and they're living their best life. They're out, they're drinking, they're being merry, they're eating all the fine foods and the fine drinks. There's a point where you feel like, at least I did, where I'm like, you know, after I'm working all this time, when's it my turn to do this?
Yes.
Like, I'm sick of being the one serving you all day long. I'm ready for me to now go out and be served and taken care of and all of this. Now, whether or not that fits into our budget, that's not even the first thought ever.
Not at all.
It's almost like we deserve it. You feel like it's like, I didn't do all of this. And then we have a passion for the food and a passion for the drink. We understand it more than any person, most patrons that sit down and enjoy it and just kind of wolf it down and chug it, you know. There's something about that I totally get. But I say all of that to say that there is a psychology around why we do live outside of our means.
Oh, I like
in
this.
that way, because we tend to, you know, we're always in a mindset of being a server and serving people. But what about us? And then that's also where society comes in, and it's making us feel like we are less than because we are doing this. And think about it. I mean, how many times have I been running around somebody? We all had that customer. We all had that guest that was just, off the top of my head, someone once said to me, I'm just carrying all these plates, I'm buzzing the table, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how you do it. I could never do this. You're so talented.
Ma'am, you can leave.
Right here? I was like, but
you can go back the way you
there's
came.
a feeling that is just almost like just making me feel like, wow, like I feel less than you that are sitting at this table enjoying your best life, while I'm over here serving you all the time.
Because they
and the way that we get out of that mentality,
crazy.
They exactly did.
Yep.
And then there's a part of you that gets out of that when you go out and wine and dine, because you kind of are like, I too am also like these people, and I can also go out and do all these things. Can we afford to? We don't know. Not the point. We going out and we doing this, okay? And
just like the bill's about to be paid.
Just like right. So we just deal with it. We get our discount, God willing, somewhere, and we hope that does something for us.
Knock on wood.
Right. But then also you then make up for it in your gratuity, so you're still spending
more, probably
more,
than you would in the
more.
first place. But there's psychology behind it. I think that there's something happening over time that leads to these, you know, we've all seen it: depression, alcohol abuse, drug use, all these things that have become a part of our culture.
And also not a part of the budget.
And also not a big part of the budget.
So.
But these are all the things that are happening, and we've come to know it as just to be a part of our culture, and we've all identified it and we accepted it, you know, and then we moved on from it. But I think that fits into our financial wellness too, and how if we're not seeing ourselves as equal to our patrons or to the people that we work for, then we're not going to act the same as them as well.
Okay, I agree with that. Damn. I feel like I just got emotionally read for like all of my behavior in the last like 5 years.
Oh, this is me, by the way. This is this is how I, like, since I've been in this new career of mine, these are things I recognize. So at the very beginning stages, I gave out these market surveys. So I would conduct these market surveys, and you reach out to the people that are your friends. So my friends are all in the industry. And you ask these 7 questions, and they're questions like, you know, what are your thoughts on the financial service industry? Who do you turn to for support or for questions about your finances? You know, things like that. And across the board, it's like, well, I don't know. That's something that like rich people do, or people that have like this corporate 9-to-5 job do, or, you know, that's, adulting, girl, I'm not ready for that. Like, that's some, you know, and it's like, there is a common thread there, and it's like, and I was a part of it. I mean, like I said, you know, I'm not very young, you know, to me, I was, you know, this was just 2 years or 3 years ago that I was just the same exact way, thinking like, you know, that's something that I'll do eventually. It's not something that I need to worry about right now. But then I interviewed my other peers that I grew up with, like from high school, or people that have like these corporate 9-to-5 jobs and whatnot. And they're like, oh, girl, yeah, I've been doing this, and I've been investing in Robinhood and all this other stuff.
what the
and,
hell?
and I was like, wait a
Wow.
minute, what is happening right now? Like, why did I know about this? You've never talked about. We have been best friends for 20 something years, and I didn't know about any of this stuff because we don't talk about finances.
The holdout.
And here I am feeling left behind, like the rest of my peers in the service industry, while they're out here just pretty much ready for retirement, for an early retirement at that.
Well, that reminds me of a conversation that you and I had not too long ago, Raketa, to where when certain milestones are hit within the hospitality industry, it feels like such a surprise, right? Like when people buy a house and they're in the industry, it's shocking.
Yes.
It is
Like, how
shocking.
do you do that?
Yeah, it's shocking
Like a
to
unicorn,
them,
you're
and
like-
it's shocking to everyone that they know. And that's just part of the behavior as well, because that is something that, you know, if it interests you, you should have access to.
Yeah.
However, you have to plan for it.
Yeah.
And
Thank you for saying that.
yeah,
Plan.
I think the plan of it becomes daunting. So how do we kind of remove that stigma from the planning and investing in yourself?
I mean, the first thing I mean, not to plug what I do in this whole situation.
Please
But-
plug it.
Yeah.
That is exactly.
We're here to give you money.
That is exactly why it's so important to me to try to gear my practice towards people in the industry. You know, it's not gonna make me rich by any means. God knows, I that's just how it is, and why a lot of people in this industry, in my financial services industry, tend to go after people in higher income levels, because that is where the money is. But that's not the people that need the help the most, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That being said, my goal is to create a space where people feel comfortable and not judged, and safe, that they can talk about the things that they probably are not going to want to sit with an advisor that shows up in, you know, her lubies and like, you know, doing her thing. And you're like, wait a minute, now I'm going to sit here and tell you about how poorly I've been behaving over God knows how many years. And what are you going to think about that? And you're going to look at me like, girl, you're not even like, I'm not going to make any money off you. Like, what are we going to do with you? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There is a step that has to happen in between when you can get into the fun, sexy part of planning, which is like all the
There's a
investing.
fun and sexy?
There is a fun and sexy part of it. Once you
Oh.
get that, you know, foundational work done, and you get to that point. But in our industry, that foundational work is going to be where people are going to have to start. And it's just as simple as, like you keep saying, planning. But to answer your question, yeah, sitting down with someone who's doing the work for you. Like it's not going to be, it's still going to be daunting, don't get me wrong, because you first have to take that step. I mean,
Yeah.
my
You have to
everyday
acknowledge
struggle
it
is talking to
and
people
foremost.
and getting them to even
Consider.
accept
Yeah.
and care about their future, and accept that there's some changes need to be made. Now, once we get there, it's a hand-holding process, which I'm excited to do, because, you know, I call it, you know, let's be accountability partners. You know, I'm going to do my best to hold you accountable,
Yes.
so that you don't have to be the one holding yourself accountable by yourself, because it's hard.
Listen, that's how I feel. I can't be in charge of me all the time. Like, I know that I am, but like,
And it's not supposed to be easy, but it's just the same as, you know, any other specialty. If you got a toothache, you can try to figure out yourself. You can go to a dentist. So if you need some help with figuring out where
that's
you're
the
going,
layman's terms
you go to
that I feel like people need to
so you
hear.
mean
You know?
you don't not go to the dentist and just
Right.
pack it with clove as a natural
Clove.
antiseptic?
Does that
No,
work?
that is real.
That's real?
that is
real.
Okay.
real.
Yes.
That
Okay.
is real.
Okay, well, all right.
Tips and tricks of being poor in the service industry.
But also, you don't have to. I mean, I don't want to even call myself out one more time, but
Go ahead.
I was
this
not
is an open space.
poor in the industry. I was
Right.
making monies. Okay, that money
Okay.
was
You're
coming
like the
in.
money was being made, however
I
the money
just
was being
wasn't.
managed. It was not being managed
Correct.
at all.
So we were not poor. We are not poor in this industry.
No.
Okay,
No.
we are just not
No.
So I have
even
a-
tracking our income.
Right.
Question for you,
Walking out
because
with cash.
I am Oh, I've been a ride or die back of house person forever.
Okay.
So I've never been in a tipped position.
Okay.
Tip culture. And like, how do you think that plays into from what I see is like the lack of investing in self? Because like when I think about what I've heard front of house staff being tipped out, and I'm like, that's my whole fucking weekly paycheck.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so I guess what is the relation between making more money but still not investing in yourself in your financial stability? And follow up to that, do you think that being able to make more than an hourly rate with tips, do you think that sort of forces people or like causes people to be less thoughtful about their money because it's like seems like a renewable source? You know, it's like constantly renewing itself. People are going to come in and they're going to give you their money, and that is understood. Whereas like if you're in the back of house, if it's not very busy, you get cut and you go home. So you're losing the same hours, but you're not making the same money.
There is the elements of that do
Come into
obviously
play.
happen on the front of house as well. But I do believe there's a significant disparity between, you know, obviously the income level from front of house versus back of house.
Like front of the house as in like service and bartenders and stuff, or
Yes.
including like, yeah, because I'm sure with like hosts and everyone else, it's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah,
But to answer your question, yes
Yeah.
and yes.
Yeah.
Like there's
Okay.
definitely a difference. It's hard to manage your funds and to plan on anything when you're not even sure what's coming in. It's so up and down. You know it's coming. You know, on a Friday, most likely you're going to make decent money. On a Saturday, some Mondays you might walk out there with $20. You know, it's probably easier for someone who's making that salary, even though it's less, for them to manage, because they can simply, it's easier for them to follow that 60-20-20, because they can literally say each month, this is exactly what I make, and take that dollar amount, 20% of that, and put it away. They don't have to think too much about it. It would take us to actually have a spreadsheet out, type in what you make every day, keep track of that, come up with an average, figure out what the average is per month. That would be your salary. Take that in half bi-weekly and actually figure it out, which sounds difficult, but it's really not. If you're looking at, you know, we file our taxes, you're looking at what you made last year, take that, figure out what your salary is, and it's the same thing.
This is very comforting. Like you saying it can be easy.
It can
You
be
can
easy.
do this.
It can be easy, and yes, there's, you know, I always tell people, bite size. It doesn't have to be overnight. If you're committing to saving $200 a month, if that's based on your salary, 20%, take that. If a month comes by that you can't do it, then you don't do it. You know, it's just about having a plan in place so that when you are doing, so that you are at least are actively trying to do something. You know what I'm saying? It's not supposed to be perfect or 100% of the time. You know, it can be, God willing, we want it to be.
Yeah.
But it could just be as simple as just having a goal and setting it and then just doing that.
Okay. I didn't make
But yeah,
any resolutions
Tip culture
this
does
year,
make it
but-
harder for sure, because
Yeah.
it's cash. You know, but it's
Cash
no
is
different
monopoly
than,
money to me.
than somebody like myself who's operating off of 1099. You know, it's no different than that when you don't know. My salaries fluctuates all the time. You know, and I have to figure it out too. So that's the thing, as I want people in the service industry to start treating themselves like they're operating their own business, and they are an independent contractor working and operating for themselves, and they need to
Absolutely.
act accordingly and take it seriously, and all the passions that I see behind it, put that into themselves too. And don't just don't just be making money for the owners of the restaurant you work for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Make it work for you too.
We do not mean.
You know what I mean?
We do.
I think there's just so much to
Yeah.
say.
And I
mean,
feel like this
yeah.
is just like an introduction conversation
Yeah.
to like what that should be like. But my brain wants to, first of all, before I even get into what my brain wants, I just want to point out that like, as a Black woman, you are creating a resource for this community to sort of help stabilize the future of the community. And
Completely agree.
you're doing the Lord's work. If you're into the Lord, that's cool.
I am.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing the Lord's work. And I just want to say thank you so much for like giving back the knowledge that you have learned from being in the industry and now going into this new journey back to the industry, because I feel like a lot of people walk away from it and they're like, nope, it didn't do anything for me, bye, whatever, instead of like realizing that you were a member of this community and you were affected by the lack of, I don't know, financial stability that exists within the walls of these industries. But you know, I just
First of all, thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
I feel like that is
Completely.
You know, this is something that, you know, going back to me leaving the industry, I mean, I was laid off, you know, during the pandemic. I didn't have a choice. You know, I had to reinvent myself. I had to pivot. I had to figure it out. You know, I was told at the time, maybe your position might be available 4 months. We'll see. You know, but I'm not the kind of person, I mean, I couldn't afford to wait to see what will happen. I had to figure it out.
Yeah.
So I did, and you know, it took me time to even own and make it my own. It was more of like, this is what I need to do for work to make money, so this is what I'm doing. And then as time went on, it became something that I was just like, wow, you know, and keeping in mind in this industry, there's only but 2 other Black females in the company that I work for. Okay. Nonetheless, females. I mean, so that's a big responsibility for me, but also in recognizing, you know, the way that I grew up and not having that. I mean, take outside of the service industry. I mean, this came well before that. I mean, nobody was sitting down with you after college and sitting down and, you know, if you went to college or even after high school and entering the workforce, no one sits down with you and says, okay, you're an adult now, this is what you do. This is what you start doing, putting this in place. You know, people are gonna look at you like, yeah, we'll do that later. We'll figure that out. Like, I'm only 20 something, like, please, we'll do this another time. Come talk to me when I'm in my 30s. And then what happens? 30s, 40s, and we talk about this a lot, the cost of waiting. It costs you more money to save the longer that you wait, because
that
obviously
hit me in my soul. Dang.
It hits me in my soul too, because I waited, you know, and then I work with people in their 20s and they have it, you know, way easier. You know, they can save a third of what I saved in order to get to the same goal, you know.
I used to get mad when I like went on the internet and saw people that I like went to high school with or college. I'm like, how are you affording to go on 4 vacations a year? And it's because
they're in Africa, they're in Thailand.
Per quarter.
Yeah, they're vacationing per quarter.
Per quarter, absolutely. And I'm like, what is happening here? But it's because they planned that out. They have that discretionary income they put aside. And that's not even part of their savings, mind you. They're saving. It's that other 20 that we talked about, that they're using that and then doing whatever they want with it. And they just save that for traveling. I mean, it sounds like I'm just making it sound like it's just so simple, so easy, but
you make it sound simple and easy, but also like made up at the same time. And
I promise you it's not made up.
I know.
It's not
I
made
believe
up.
you.
But it's just as simple as that. Once you have a plan, and I stand by this, it just becomes a part of your lifestyle and doesn't feel like anything.
Like
it
another
just feels
routine.
like things that you just get up in the morning and do your life, like brush your teeth, whatever it is you do in the morning. Like it's just becomes second nature, and then you just become obsessed with seeing your account grow and all these things happening, that you start being like, okay, like this
my
is
strange addiction.
This is now my priority.
Stabilizing my future.
Yeah. My strange. Oh, don't get me started on that show.
On the next episode.
Yes.
But yes, not supposed to be scary. More of a, you know, start somewhere, take a small step, and then take it from there.
I could do that. Maybe. I can do it.
You can do it.
Okay. You can.
You can do it.
If I can do it, anyone can do it. And that's kind of, I want that to be my tagline.
Together.
If I can do it.
Together.
The mess that I can come out of the industry, I wasn't saving a penny. And if this pandemic, like we talked about, showed us anything, is that even on a lesser income we can save, we're just going to take that with us moving forward.
Okay.
And be able to save even more, because you know the industry's going to be up and popping again, be making that money again, and
Popping.
then it's just going to be easier, and you're just going to be like, well, I already was saving, now I'm just going to take it up a notch.
Okay.
Yes.
You have to, so like what you're saying is when you start doing it And if you start making more money, the amount that you're saving increases as well.
Yes.
You don't just like, you're like, well,
keep it at
what
the
if I
same
just
20%.
roll it to the next one? Yeah, okay. I can do that. That
Yeah.
seems like a reasonable, responsible, I'm not going to say adult thing to do, because we should all be doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
But it feels like the
that.
adult thing to do.
I say it's a part of adulting.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe adulting started a little late for me, but that's fine.
That's
Better
listen,
late than never.
Better late than never.
I think. Sorry, I got distracted
Me too.
by a very large.
Please finish
bottle.
that sentence so that people don't think they're like, what?
It's a very large bottle
Yes.
of champagne.
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. A magnum-sized bottle of champagne has entered the room.
Yes.
So,
From
thank
our
you.
friends over at
Charles Heidsick.
Heitzig.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Aw.
I'd like to touch on briefly the idea of financial wellness in hospitality seems to always lean towards ownership, the structure of the business, and not necessarily on the individual.
Mm-hmm.
And just ideas of, collective bargaining, unionization, because there are parts of that conversation and that trajectory that it's just not all financial. It's about other elements of wellness. And like we touched upon earlier, financial wellness is such a significant part of your overall mental health.
Yeah. And
I go back and forth with the idea of collective bargaining, unionization. From the industry perspective, everyone needs to be taken care of. This is such an inequitable industry. And also, if I can just, rewind to what Nuriba had mentioned earlier, is I would like to thank you as well, because the commitment to the work that you are doing is part of what helps make this industry more equitable. Mm-hmm. And that is the education of it. So,
and also helping to change the culture behind what we should and shouldn't be doing at specific times in our lives, which a lot of my interactions with other adults in the service industry has been about what are you doing to prepare for the future? And I'm like, future what? Who dat?
You mean tomorrow?
Yeah, exactly. Tomorrow and the day after that. And I think that being more aware of what we can do to better ourselves separate from the industry, but still being a part of the industry is what is the change that we need. We need to start caring about ourselves actually, instead of burning ourselves into the ground to produce for other people, and then we're just emotionally and mentally and financially depleting ourselves. Because I know that I've gone to work knowing that the amount of money I have for the next 2 weeks is the exact amount of money I need to go to and from work, and I can do nothing else.
Yep.
And I feel like a lot of people have that experience, but to know that you don't have to do that, and if you just do the old 60-20-20, give them the razzle dazzle,
the good 2020,
you can make it. You can make it happen. Yes. So thank you.
I absolutely agree too. That I think there's an opportunity here to really change the mindset within the culture of the service industry. Mm-hmm. Again, just leveraging our experience that we had during this pandemic and thinking about, how bad it can be, and there's no excuse for it, and owning that and realizing that we can do better. It is up to us. We talk about collective bargaining, and that would be great, but it's really up to us. I have friends that are in unions and they are well taken care of. They get great benefits and all of that. I would love to see it, but it's less likely to happen. It's more likely that restaurant groups are going to be open to. And like I mentioned earlier, the few that I've reached out to, they're open for it. You know, it doesn't cost them a thing to have someone come on and offer, you know, we're talking about going in and offering them, you know, live seminars and speaking to all of their staff and letting them, you know, just educating them, financial planning 101, giving them some education whenever they're going through their onboarding, whenever they come back to work after this, and letting them know, you know, this is what you have, this is what you can do, this is how you plan for retirement. I mean, putting it in their ear, educating them, it becomes like the norm. People start to see like, well, this is what we're all doing. So
yes.
Let's just.
Are you trying to say this should be an SOP?
I mean,
a standard
operating procedure.
I think
absolutely, absolutely,
okay,
agree.
That's how you make people build it in to their day to days. It's an SOP. Shit, we got to do it.
I mean, if that's what it takes, I would love that.
Hell yeah.
Love that.
And continue.
But yeah, people were here for it, and I think that especially, I mean, who knows the reasoning. I like to believe that they just really want to be helpful and take care of their employees. But I think that, you know, it's going to be a competitive market out here whenever jobs open back up, and you're going to want to go back to places, and they're going to have to show, like, why am I going to come back to you?
Exactly.
You know, it's going to make their companies look great to be investing in your employees and making sure that you're just kind of giving them a little something extra. You know, and what better thing to give them than to give them a reason to feel like just as important as your management staff or the owners or whoever it is. Like, don't just make people feel like they're disposable. You know, I was talking to someone earlier about, like, you know, my experience in leaving the industry, and now I'm working with all these people that used to be, you know, doctors or attorneys and whatnot, and, you know, having imposter syndrome, you know, talking about, you know, like, here, like, what am I doing here? What's going on here? You know, you're, you know, driving this Tesla, like the best life. And I'm like, oh, you know, I'm just trying to, you know, just get my bus pass out. You know?
Just trying to survive. Trying to survive.
You know, but it's like, I imagine, you know, that's probably a lot of the feeling that we have in the industry whenever we are, you know, feeling less than, or feeling like the people around us are kind of, you know, a different tier than where we're at. And that does play a role in how we plan for our lives, because we think that it's just something that, I don't know if it's, you know, not good enough for, or that we're just not there yet. Like, it's just something that we just hold ourselves back for.
It's an excuse. It's some excuse that's out there waiting to present itself to us, and we're like, yeah, that's it. But we don't have to do that.
Right.
We can actually say, nope, that's an excuse, and take accountability and make the change.
And
why do I sound so sad?
Change.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No,
I'm trying to
that.
commit to this change.
Yeah.
I stuttered my way through it because I'm trying to believe it myself. Like,
no, you said it perfectly. Excuses, because anything could be an excuse. I mean, I'd love, again, to have, you know, business owners commit and invest, but that's also an excuse. I mean, why is it on them? You know, there's nothing that they can give you and do for you that we can't do for ourselves.
God damn.
That's right.
And either way, it's going to cost us. They're not the ones that's going to be paying for it. So, like, we need to do the work and decide what's important to us. And, you know, all the fun stuff is all great, but there has to be a part of it, a part of us that takes it seriously as well.
Well, shit.
Yeah. No, Reba, are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
It just, this conversation is making me realize that, like, a lot of things, I like to say that things are easier said than done, but you're like, if you just do it,
yeah, we
it'll
can't
be
even
fine.
let our minds go there, because if we do, it's like,
I'm just going to miss that exit and just keep going to the savings.
Just start somewhere.
Okay.
I'm working with someone that, I mean, we're taken down to the bare bones of, like, listen, the debt is real. The credit card debt is real. Budget tight. Like, surplus, non-existent.
Credit?
Take credit score, please. Like, no.
Who dat?
But we came out of it. We're coming out of it. We're working small bits. I'm talking, it can be as simple as, okay, let's just commit. We're taking $20 a week. Okay? He gets paid weekly, so I'm using that as an example. Take $20 a week. You go to Starbucks all the time. You're not even going to realize that that's gone. Forced savings we're talking about, right? Just take it out.
True.
That alone is going to, just giving him a goal of, like, okay, by 2024, if you keep doing that, you'll have paid off this debt. Now, breaking it down to bite size like that, and even though 2024, not that close, but it's not that far
It's also
away.
not that far either.
Exactly, and it's achievable, and it's a goal that is set.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking. Just set the goal and then work towards getting there. Because if you didn't do that, 2024 would be here, and you still have that debt.
Damn.
Because the debt's not going away.
It's not
No.
going
No,
away.
it's not going away. They're going to make sure it doesn't go away.
So we're just trying to get you to a place that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So you're not just always every year focusing on getting something done, that there's actually some checking of the boxes.
So the light at the end of the tunnel is like, so you are representing the star in the tarot card situation. I'm about to swing it in there real quick.
I was
because
gonna say, okay.
you like, we are walking around being like, this is a financial fucking struggle and how am I gonna make it out of this? And you are creating a space where if you literally just ask for help, you can receive it and there's a way out of it. And the star is like the North Star, where when you're like feeling lost and confused, all you have to do is like look to this one point and you're like, oh yeah, that's like, this is the way home, sort of. And you are like creating this beacon for financial stability in a land of people walking around, not making direct eye contact and being like, I can't do this
at all.
But if you just make eye contact with young Raketa, you too can know about financial wellness.
I laugh, but literally, that is everything. I couldn't have said it better. Yes.
Yay!
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
and yes. Let's stop
That was
putting our heads
perfect.
down and look up and figure it out, because it's not going to go away. We can't just put it under the table and hope that it's going to be gone one day. And we want to have a better life. I mean, I assume we don't. We want to be able to live our best lives, and we work hard. There needs to be a moment where you can put down whatever it is that you do for a living and just say to yourself, because of all the work I did in my past life, this is what got me to where I am now.
My mom wants that for me real bad, but also like she's hella foreign and is living in Trinidad right now, living her best life, not worrying about a goddamn thing. You know why? Because she had a 401k and a pension and all that shit for the 30 years that she worked for the same one company.
God bless it.
And now, like, we think that that's like a figment of the past and it doesn't exist anymore. And here you are saying it does. And it has always existed. And we too can have that resource of saving our fucking money.
Now, my
'cause I
mother,
feel
on
like
the
it's
other hand,
evolved as
is
well.
not living her best life. I mean, she's 65. She's living on Social Security.
I mean,
And she didn't have any kind of plan, and my community growing up, no one talked about that. I mean, you were happy that you got your bills paid on time and that you had a roof over your head.
I mean,
And not even on time, like that you paid your bills enough that your
Within
electricity
the-
was still on.
yeah.
But like anything else, that's where it was at. So, let's talk about that. So security, that's not something that we don't know if that's going to be around for us, which is why it's even more important that we're thinking about these kind of things, because there's some people that I've asked, the simple question, what do you think about retirement planning? I don't know. I never really thought about it. Okay. So when you what do you think will happen if you get to a point where you're unable to work, or you choose not to work, or if you're just unable to work? I mean, let's just start there. What do you think is going to happen? Well, isn't there some kind of like government thing or something that's going to take care of me? Something like, isn't that like, whoo, like that we're even thinking that way?
Right.
And the answer to that question is, I mean, no, there is not some
I've
kind
never
of like
thought about that.
bailout that's going to happen to you, but people just assume it's like a train of thought where you just think like, come on now, like everyone out here is not planning. There must be some solution that's going to help me if I don't plan. And the answer to that question is there is not. Some other like thing that's going to happen that's going to do it for us. So it's really, and I don't say that to like make anyone overwhelmed or terrify anyone. It's just more of like an eye-opening, like just like no one else is paying our bills for us now, they ain't gonna be doing it then either.
They're most certainly not gonna.
It's like when you realize if you don't wash your own laundry, no one's gonna wash it for you.
Yeah,
all.
unfortunately,
It's
I
like
remember
that.
that. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's just like that. Well, I love this. This was.
I'm enjoying this. I mean, I can go on all night, as
That's
God
what I'm
knows.
saying.
Yeah,
It can't be
yeah,
forever,
yeah.
but I want it to be.
Yeah.
I feel like we need to have like a, I don't know, 6 months out, like bring it back in.
Bring it back in.
Post pandemic, hopefully, we're saying that that's a thing. But 6 months from now, we'll see.
Let's hope.
And
The 6/20/20.
just kind of revisiting it where we're at. Like let's try to stay on this high, if you will, of getting ourselves together.
Yes, together.
And I feel like we should check in with each other as people, accountability partners, make sure that we're talking about this still, like where we're at, how can we get there? Okay, well that's okay, girl. Like you bought them shoes and you really needed it. That's okay. Next month, you're going to just try to save a little bit extra to make up for it. Okay. Like let's try to do that. It's not about being hard on yourself and make yourself feel bad. It's just, like I said, just try.
I'm gonna try. I'm
gonna
gonna give it
I'm gonna try
the
too.
full try, and not like the say I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
That's it.
So
Your tries will become doing.
Every year, I don't make resolutions, but as December rolls into January, I always have to remind myself to commit to try. So
Yes.
I love that the both of y'all just said that.
Yeah.
And
Okay, I like that too.
And on that note, thank you so much,
Yes.
Raketa. And I identified with so many things that you had mentioned, and I feel like our listeners will also identify within themselves examples that you've shared. So thank you for being so open and transparent.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome.
Yeah. And just cheers.
Cheers.
Air
Air cheers.
cheers. Yeah.
Ting 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 ting.
Yes, we're going to be enjoying our delicious Charles Heidsieck champagne here in these beautiful glasses.
These glasses make me
just-
feel
I
like
mean,
I'm unprepared.
This is imposter syndrome.
Yes.
In a glass.
Yes.
Right here. Right here. Like the way.
How
the
did we
way
get
this,
here? Don't know.
We committed to the try.
We committed to the try. Here's to committing to the try.
Committing to the try.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And as they say in the furniture business, cheers. Ah, bah, 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 bah.
I don't know. I was like, where's he going with that?
Yeah,
Oh my god.
I know.
You're just like rolling in with that dad joke. Yeah.
I'm
I
just
like
It's
it.
fine. It's fine. So Raketa, where can we keep up with the haps and all the hot goss? Where can we find you?
Can we
Honestly.
follow you on things?
Yeah.
You can follow me. Well, I have a website, so it's raketa.web at nm.com.
Okay.
For Northwestern Mutual, that's the company that I represent.
Perfect.
But yeah, she's running her own practice. I primarily focus on working with young professionals like yourselves, Black business owners. I love working with families, people that are just merging lives. Think about it. Sometimes as a couple, you're living your life separately. All of a sudden, you're together. Things have to change. We have to join those forces. The people in that way. But yeah, look me up, reach out. Myself and information and all that is on there.
Perfect.
And we can just
And
brainstorm.
we'll also link you from the website
Yeah.
and all of that. And this isn't the end.
This isn't the end.
This is only the beginning.
I'm
and
looking
that
forward to it, you guys. I really
is
am. I
what's
think this
exciting.
year is our year, and we are going to commit to the try and work on getting ourselves together.
And I feel like the first episode
merchandise
to
with
be
the commit to the try.
recorded in 2021. This is some good vibes. This is our first episode we're recording for this year. So you've set a welcoming tone for this journey forward.
I love that you guys are doing this. I think this is great. I'm looking forward to tuning in and seeing what else we're talking about.
Thank
This
you.
is going to be great. This is great.
We're hitting them with it. Okay?
Yeah.
That's
The
what we're
old
doing.
one too.
Yeah. Nuriba, would you like to close us out?
My name's Nariba Shepherd.
Oh, come on.
You can find me on. I'm just sad that it's over.
But
Okay.
be happy
I'm gonna
that
be
it
happy.
happened.
Yes. Okay.
So,
Hi guys, we're gonna log out right now. My name's Reba Shepherd. You can find me at Rebaru, REBARU, Instagram, and that's what I got for you. That's it.
all right, well.
Love, peace, and chicken grease.
All right, well. Again, shouts to y'all. I had a great time.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Reba.
Thank you for coming.